Before hip-hop, before funk, before soul even had a name. There was a revolution happening in American music. The late 1940s and early 1950s gave birth to a sound that would change everything. Rhythm and blues, R&B. These are the 15 songs that started it all. The pioneers who took gospel, jazz and blues and created something the world had never heard before. Let's go back to where it all began. 15. Chuck Berry, Maybellene, 1955.
Oh, Maybellene, why can't you be true?
May 1955, Chess Records in Chicago. Chuck Berry, a St. Louis guitarist and songwriter, recorded Maybellene, a song about a car chase that was really about lost love and American freedom.
Oh, Maybellene, why can't you be true?
The song would hit number 1 on the R&B charts for 11 weeks and number 5 on the pop charts. More importantly, Chuck Berry proved that R&B could tell complex stories with literary quality. Maybellene featured Berry's distinctive guitar style, a combination of blues, country, and something entirely new. His lyrics were vivid, cinematic, painting pictures with words. Maybellene. Why can't you be true? The question was universal, but the delivery was revolutionary. Berry's diction was clear, his storytelling economical. Radio DJs loved it because the lyrics were clever without being controversial. Chuck Berry became rock and roll's first great songwriter-guitarist, but Maybellene was pure R&B, built on blues progressions and gospel timing. The song's success proved that R&B could appeal to white teenagers without losing its black identity. Berry would go on to write the blueprint for rock and roll with Johnny B. Good, Roll Over Beethoven, and rock and roll music. But it all started with Maybellene, a R&B song that refused to stay in its lane. 14. Little Richard, Tutti Frutti, 1955. September 1955. J&M Studios in New Orleans. Little Richard Penniman was taking a break from a frustrating recording session. He sat down at the piano and started playing a wild, obscene song he'd been performing in clubs. Producer Bumps Blackwell heard it, got the lyrics cleaned up by Dorothy Labostri, and recorded it in 3 takes. Tutti Frutti was about to change the world. A wop bop, a loo bop, a lop. Bam boom. Those opening words were a declaration of war against everything boring and safe in American music. Little Richard's voice was a shriek, a scream, a celebration of pure joy and chaos. The piano pounded relentlessly. The song peaked at number 2 on the R&B charts, but crossed over to number 17 on the pop charts, unheard of for such a raw R&B record. Tutti Frutti was more than a song, it was a revolution.
And they called it and named it rock and roll. Rhythm and blues had...
Little Richard brought the energy of gospel, the rawness of blues, and an androgynous performance style that challenged every social norm. His influence on rock and roll is incalculable. The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Prince, they all studied Little Richard. Tutti Frutti proved that R&B could be wild, uncontrollable, and completely irresistible. Nothing was the same after Little Richard screamed those opening words. 13. Etta James, The Wallflower, Roll With Me Henry, 1955. Etta James was only 16 years old when she recorded The Wallflower, better known as Roll With Me Henry. The song was an answer to Hank Ballard's Work With Me Annie, but Etta James made it her own.
Roll with me, Henry. You better roll out.
In 1955, her powerful, mature voice belied her teenage years. The song topped the R&B charts for 4 weeks, launching one of the greatest careers in American music history. The Wallflower featured Etta's raw, gospel-influenced vocals over a jumping R&B arrangement. Her delivery was confident, playful, commanding. She sang like someone twice her age, with a depth of feeling that couldn't be taught. Modern records had found a star, and the R&B world had found a new queen. Georgia Gibbs would later cover it as Dance With Me Henry, sanitizing the lyrics and having a massive pop hit. But it was Etta's version that mattered to R&B history. She proved that young women could compete with established stars and win. Her voice had the power of big Mama Thornton and the sophistication of Ruth Brown. The Wallflower was just the beginning of a 6-decade career that would include At Last, Tell Mama, and countless other classics. But in 1955, at 16 years old, Etta James announced her arrival with a song that couldn't be ignored.
Roll with me, Henry. You better roll it wild.
12. Ray Charles, I Got a Woman, 1954. November 1954, Atlanta, Georgia.
She says loving early.
Ray Charles walked into a radio station studio and recorded a song that would change his life and alter the course of American music. I Got a Woman took a gospel song, It Must Be Jesus, and transformed it
She says loving
into a secular celebration of romantic love. The result was revolutionary, controversial, and absolutely undeniable. Charles had been playing traditional R&B for years with moderate success.
She says loving just for me.
But I Got a Woman was different. He brought the call and response style of the black church directly into R&B. His voice shouted and celebrated like a preacher, but he was singing about a woman who gave him money when he was in need.
Don't you understand?
The song hit #1 on the R&B charts and stayed there for 5 weeks. Ray Charles had invented soul music. The controversy was immediate. Church leaders accused Ray of blasphemy,
Well, town, good to me.
of taking sacred music and making it profane. But Charles had grown up in the church and knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't mocking gospel. He was showing that the emotional intensity of gospel could elevate secular music to something transcendent.
In the morning, just for me.
I Got a Woman influenced everyone from James Brown to Aretha Franklin. It's impossible to imagine soul music without this song.
Oh yeah. Oh, she's my baby.
11. The Midnighters, Work With Me Annie, 1954. In 1954, Hank Ballard and the Midnighters released a song so controversial that it was banned from most radio stations. Work With Me Annie was sexually suggestive, playful, and impossible to ignore. Despite the ban, or perhaps because of it, the song shot to #1 on the R&B charts. Young people found ways to hear it, and conservative groups found new reasons to hate R&B. The genius of Work With Me Annie was its use of double entendre. On the surface, it was just about working together. but everyone knew what was really being suggested. Hank Ballard's vocal delivery was urgent, almost comedic in its persistence. The Midnighters' harmonies added a smoothness that contrasted with the song's raw energy. It was jump blues meeting doo-wop, with a wink that drove authorities crazy. Work With Me, Annie spawned multiple answer songs, including Annie Had a Baby, and the more sanitized Dance With Me, Henry by Georgia Gibbs, which became a pop hit, but it was Hank Ballard's original that mattered. He pushed boundaries and proved that R&B could be provocative and successful. Years later, Ballard would write The Twist, giving Chubby Checker a career. But Work With Me, Annie was his moment of rebellion, captured in 3 minutes. 10. The Drifters. Money Honey, 1953. The Drifters would go through many lineup changes and have dozens of hits across 3 decades. But it all started with Money Honey in 1953. Led by Clyde McPhatter, whose tenor voice could break hearts at 20 paces, the song topped the R&B charts for 11 weeks. Atlantic Records had found their next Ruth Brown, and R&B vocal groups would never be the same. Money Honey addressed a universal problem: a lover who was only interested in your wallet. But McPhatter sang it with such anguish and soul that you felt every dollar leaving his pocket. His vocal style, soaring into falsetto, then dropping to a gospel shout, influenced everyone. I love him so, I want money, honey. From Jackie Wilson to Sam Cooke. The Drifters' harmonies were tight, professional, yet emotionally devastating. What made Money Honey important was its sophistication. This wasn't simple blues or gospel. This was a fully arranged production with multiple vocal parts, a solid rhythm section, and commercial appeal that crossed demographic boundaries. The Drifters proved that R&B groups could be as polished as pop acts while maintaining authentic emotional depth. Clyde McPhatter would leave to go solo in 1954, but Money Honey established a legacy that outlived any single lineup. She said, "I like to know what you want with me." 9. The Five Royales, Baby Don't Do It, 1953. If you've ever wondered where guitar-driven R&B and soul came from, the answer is the Five Royales. Baby Don't Do It, released in 1953, featured guitarist Loman Pauling, whose style would influence everyone from Steve Cropper to Eric Clapton. The song hit #1 on the R&B charts, but more importantly, it introduced a new guitar sound to black popular music. Before the Five Royales, R&B was dominated by horns, pianos, and saxophones. Pauling's guitar was melodic but aggressive, filling spaces and driving the rhythm. Baby Don't Do It. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't. Featured a guitar solo that was absolutely revolutionary for 1953. The vocals were pleading, desperate, emotional. Lead singer Johnny Tanner sang like a man watching his world fall apart, and the guitar echoed every feeling. You are that I had to see. The Five Royales never achieved the crossover success they deserved, but their influence on soul music is undeniable. James Brown covered several of their songs and borrowed heavily from their stage show. If you leave me pretty, baby, I'll have... Ray Charles studied their arrangements. The guitar-based sound they pioneered would become standard in 60s soul. Baby Don't Do It was more than a hit. It was a blueprint for the future.
Tell me, going to put me down, but baby, don't do
8. The Clovers, 1 Mint Julep, 1952.
was the cause of it all.
The Clovers were one of Atlantic Records' most successful groups in the early 50s, but 1 Mint Julep was special. Released in 1952, this song told a cautionary tale with a wink and a smile.
I met Julep, I met Julep.
One drink leads to another, which leads to romance, which leads to marriage, which leads to 6 kids and financial troubles. It was funny, relatable, and backed by one of the smoothest grooves in R&B. The Clovers' vocal harmonies were influenced by gospel groups like the Golden Gate Quartet. But instead of singing about salvation, they were singing about the consequences of a Saturday night. 1 Mint Julep
I got 6 extra children from a getting.
reached number 2 on the R&B charts and showcased the group's ability to blend humour with serious musicianship. The instrumental version by Ray Charles in 1961 would become even more famous.
Was the cause of it all.
But the Clovers' original had the story. What's remarkable about 1 Mint Julep is its narrative structure. It's essentially a 3-minute movie. Boy meets girl, boy makes mistakes,
I met Julep, I met Julep. Whoa.
boy faces consequences. The Clovers delivered it with perfect timing, each verse building on the last. The song influenced the storytelling tradition in R&B that would later be perfected by artists like Curtis Mayfield and Marvin Gaye. Humour and serious themes could coexist in the same song.
It's good.
I met Julep, I met Julep.
7. Big Mama Thornton, Hound Dog, 1952. Before Elvis. Before the world knew Hound Dog as a rock and roll anthem, there was Big Mama Thornton. In August 1952, Willie Mae Big Mama Thornton recorded Hound Dog at Radio Recorders in Los Angeles. Her version was raw, powerful, and dangerous. This wasn't a cute song about a puppy. This was a woman putting a no-good man in his place. Written by the legendary team of Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, Hound Dog was custom-made for Thornton's commanding presence. Her voice was a force of nature, deep and authoritative. The song hit number 1 on the R&B charts and stayed there for 7 weeks. In 1952, it sold almost 2 million copies. For context, that was massive success for an R&B record. What makes Thornton's version superior to all covers that followed is the attitude. When she sang, "You ain't nothing but a hound dog," you believed her. There was humour, but also genuine disdain. Elvis would make it famous in 1956, but he changed the arrangement and the meaning entirely. Big Mama Thornton's Hound Dog remains the definitive version, a showcase of female power in early R&B.
Oh, now, Lordy, 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 Miss Clawdy.
6. Lloyd Price, Lawdy, Miss Clawdy, 1952.
I'm gonna tell.
In 1952, a 19-year-old from Kenner, Louisiana walked into Cosimo Matassa's studio in New Orleans and recorded a song that would stay at number 1 on the R&B charts for 7 weeks. Lloyd Price's Lawdy, Miss Clawdy was a masterpiece of teenage heartbreak wrapped in a New Orleans groove, and sitting at the piano, a young session musician named Fats Domino. Lawdy, Miss Clawdy told the story of a young man whose girlfriend had him wrapped around her finger. The frustration in Price's voice was real, raw, relatable. Every teenager who'd ever been in love recognized that feeling.
Girl, you sure look good to me.
The production was clean but powerful, featuring a horn section that punctuated every emotional beat. This was R&B growing up, becoming more sophisticated while keeping its emotional honesty. Lloyd Price would later have even bigger hits in the late 50s with Stagger Lee and Personality. But Lawdy, Miss Clawdy was his first masterpiece. The song has been covered by Elvis Presley,
Back till late at night.
John Lennon, and countless others. Its influence on early rock and roll was massive. Price showed that R&B could be commercially successful while maintaining artistic integrity. He was only 19, but he sang like someone who'd lived a lifetime.
Bye, bye, baby.
5. Jackie Brenston and his Delta Cats.
Everybody likes my Rocket 88, baby, we'll ride in style. Ooh.
Rocket 88, 1951, March 1951. Memphis, Tennessee, Sam Phillips' son's studio. A group of musicians led by Jackie Brenston recorded a song about a car. Rocket 88 would later be called the first rock and roll record ever made. But before it was rock and roll, it was pure R&B innovation, and it featured something revolutionary, a distorted guitar sound
Designed black convertible top and the gals don't mind.
created by accident. The story goes that the amplifier was damaged on the way to the studio. Rather than cancel the session, they stuffed the amp with newspaper and recorded anyway. That fuzzy, distorted sound became one of the most influential tones in music history. The song hit #1 on the R&B charts for 5 weeks. But here's the twist. The band was actually Ike Turner's Kings of Rhythm, with Brenston on vocals. Rocket 88 captured the post-war American excitement about cars, speed, and freedom. The lyrics celebrated an Oldsmobile Rocket 88, one of the fastest cars of its time. The driving rhythm,
All along.
honking saxophone, and that distorted guitar created an energy that was intoxicating. Though Jackie Brenston's name is on the record, it was Ike Turner's band and vision. Regardless of the credit dispute, Rocket 88 remains a founding document of R&B and rock and roll. 4. Ruth Brown, Teardrops from My Eyes, 1950. The early R&B scene was dominated by men, but in 1950, Ruth Brown proved women could do more than hold their own. Teardrops from My Eyes topped the R&B charts for 11 weeks. 11 weeks at #1. Ruth Brown wasn't just successful, she was so dominant that Atlantic Records was nicknamed the house that Ruth built. What set Ruth Brown apart was her emotional range. She could be heartbroken in one verse and defiant in the next. Teardrops from My Eyes showcased her ability to blend blues pain with pop accessibility.
And it's raining, teardrops from my eyes.
The arrangement featured a jumping horn section and a rhythm that made crying sound almost joyful. It was a contradiction that somehow worked perfectly. Ruth Brown's influence on female R&B singers cannot be overstated. She paved the way for Etta James, Aretha Franklin, and countless others. Her vocal style, mixing gospel power with blues feeling, became the template.
And it's raining, teardrops from my eyes.
Though she faced decades of financial struggles, fighting Atlantic Records for unpaid royalties, her musical legacy remained untouchable. Teardrops from My Eyes proved R&B belonged to women just as much as men.
'Cause I went to Huntsville.
3. Fats Domino, The Fat Man, 1949.
I was watching on Rio Gal.
In December 1949, a young piano player from New Orleans stepped up to the microphone at J&M Studios and changed music history. Antoine Fats Domino recorded The Fat Man, and it would become one of the first R&B records to sell over 1 million copies.
I'm going to see. 'Cause women.
But this wasn't just a hit. This was the sound of New Orleans taking over the world. The Fat Man was built on a rolling piano boogie, a rhythm that would become Domino's signature for decades. His voice was warm, friendly, inviting. Where other R&B singers were shouting, Fats was smiling. The song peaked at number 2 on the R&B charts, but more importantly, it introduced a new style.
God, they love me, 'cause I know my way around.
New Orleans R&B would influence everyone from Little Richard to Professor Longhair. What made Fats Domino special was his crossover appeal before crossover was even a concept.
They call me the back.
White kids and black kids both loved his music. His piano style borrowed from boogie-woogie and Caribbean rhythms, creating something uniquely Louisiana. The Fat Man wasn't just the start of Fats Domino's career. It was the moment New Orleans became the capital of R&B. Tutti Wynonie Harris. All She Wants to Do Is Rock, 1949.
All night long, all she wants to do is rock.
If Roy Brown laid the foundation, Wynonie Harris built the house. In 1949, Harris released All She Wants to Do Is Rock, and it was scandalous. Radio stations debated whether to play it. Church groups protested, but young people couldn't get enough. The song's driving rhythm and suggestive lyrics pushed boundaries that polite society wanted to keep firmly in place. Harris was known as
All she wants to do is rock. All she wants.
Mr. Blues, and he lived up to the title with swagger and showmanship. His voice was powerful, confident, almost cocky. The song climbed to number 1 on the R&B charts and stayed there for 8 weeks.
My baby don't.
In 1949, that was an eternity. The success proved there was a massive audience hungry for this new sound. What's fascinating about Wynonie Harris is how he represented the bridge between jazz
Do is rock. Rock and roll all night long.
and R&B. He started as a dancer and comedian before becoming a singer. That performance background showed in every recording. All She Wants to Do Is Rock wasn't just heard,
She wants to rock with the clock, but she don't know when to stop.
it was felt. Harris showed that R&B could be fun, rebellious, and commercially successful all at once.
All she wants to do is
Rock-a-bye, baby.
All she wants.
1. Roy Brown, Good Rockin' Tonight, 1947. In 1947, a young singer from New Orleans walked into a studio and recorded a song that would become the blueprint for rock and roll. Roy Brown's Good Rockin' Tonight wasn't just a hit, it was an earthquake.
I'll be there, shouting like a mad flying voice.
The song fused jump blues with gospel shouts, creating an energy that made people move in ways they never had before. Brown's vocal delivery was raw, urgent, almost dangerous.
Tonight. Oh, yes, we'll.
The lyrics talked about rocking and rolling all night long, phrases that would later define an entire generation of music. The song hit number 13 on the R&B charts, but its influence went far beyond numbers.
There's good rockin' tonight.
Elvis Presley would later cover it in 1954, helping launch his own career. What made Good Rockin' Tonight revolutionary was its tempo and attitude. It was faster than traditional blues,
Behind the bar, don't be afraid, I'll do you no harm.
more aggressive than jazz. This was music for Saturday night, not Sunday morning. Roy Brown had created a template that countless artists would follow. Though he never achieved massive crossover success, his legacy lives in every rock and R&B song that followed.
All we need.